to the Executive Council of Australian Jewellery co-CEO Alex Ryvchin. Alex, thanks so much for your time. I wanted to talk to you in particular because I'm sure it is a very bittersweet time for you. We have this deal, at least the start of a deal with Hamas out of Gaza. We have these protests still going ahead in Sydney, but also the hostages released early next week. How are you feeling right now?
Well, I view it as more sweet than bitter. And I think you and I have spoken so many times over the last 2 years and lamented that we only meet on somber occasions and when horrific things are happening in the world and domestically. But yesterday was a good day, unquestionably. When you have a peace agreement signed, and of course it's to be implemented, and of course the second phase of it with Hamas disarming and going and all these things, there's a lot of questions to be answered. But the fact that the hostages to be released imminently, that is a huge thing. And without holding Israelis hostage, without holding the world literally to ransom, Hamas's leverage, their ability to continue to wage war is severely diminished. And so on that basis, I'm hopeful that this plan will be implemented in full. That would mean the peaceful reconstruction of Gaza. That would mean that the Strip is never again militarized in the way that it was, never again used as a staging ground for mass terror. And then looking forward to when the dust settles on all this, I think we'll see a vastly different Middle East. Iran has been severely weakened. Its nuclear program has been scaled back. Hezbollah is not what it was. The Assad regime's gone. And so I think there's a genuine prospect for a wider regional peace. And you look at even the fact that through 2 years of bloody warfare, the Abraham Accords have stood up. It shows that there's a real desire for peace with Israel and the wider region, and I think it's going to happen.
Yeah, it feels like the momentum is certainly tipping that way. Back home here, we see, I think, the right decision for public safety, as it was laid out and explained by the judge in this case, not to have this protest go ahead at the Sydney Opera House. The Palestinian Action Group, others, are still determined to push ahead with it. It seems incongruous to what is happening in the Middle East. You have this, wellspring of hope coming out of the Middle East, and here in Australia, protesters still protesting. It does seem like a bit of a, professional protest feeling about it. But we've talked about the rise in anti-Semitism for 2 years. As you've said, it's always been there. Sometimes events just bring it to the surface. Do you have hope, despite this protest at the weekend, that it will get easier for you?
I think it will get easier, but again, we can't underestimate the damage that's been done. And we're not talking about, a brief period of weeks or months. We're talking about 2 years of relentless daily demonization, to the extent that the Jewish community has been cast as Nazi-like, as bloodthirsty, as child killers. And we've seen it pervade through all sectors of society and communications and online. And I fear that a new generation of people who perhaps weren't aware of ancient conspiracy theories about Jews being child killers and seeking to control the world and all these things, they've now seen it. They've seen it through online influencers who have peddled this relentlessly, who seized on the havoc in the Middle East to manipulate the masses into hating the Jews. And it's not something which will simply evaporate and go away. And the protesters, you're right, I mean, this is how they define themselves. They don't care about the Middle East as much as they care about their own egos and their own emotional gratification. They will keep protesting, and I think they've been revealed, because you saw when the news of this deal was first announced, about a week ago, when there were prospects for it to be reached, they rejected it. Even though they were claiming, as we all know, it's a fiction and a nonsense, they were claiming a genocide, and yet at the same time calling on Hamas to not accept a peace deal that would immediately and permanently end the war. So I think that's a positive, the fact that these people will now be marginalized and isolated. And I think they've been revealed for what they are. But in terms of dealing with anti-Semitism, it's going to be a long, tough road. And social cohesion has been ripped to shreds over 2 years, and it can't just be miraculously rebuilt.
Very articulate and classy as always, Alex. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Laura.
Well, is this the best ever chance of peace in the Middle East, in the Israeli-Palestinian conflict more specifically? As